Good morrow, fair fellows. It has been a hot minute, has it not? But I am back with a new video taking you on the adventure of making this dress. My Christmas dress for 2019. This video is going up a little past Christmas because, spoilers, I may have finished this Christmas morning and have spent the last couple of days editing this video. So enjoy. This video includes use of the terrifying sewing machine, which I'm very bad at, so I apologize in advance for all the terrible etiquette of my machine use, because it's not good. So let's jump right into the video so that I can stop embarrassing myself on camera and instead embarrass myself behind camera. Whatever. So the bodice of this dress is inspired by vintage patterns that were in turn inspired by Austrian dirndl dresses. So it's a panelled front and back with beautiful sweeping lines that were very terrifying to sew together. The skirt comes from a McCall's pattern. I'll put the exact pattern on screen. I used this pattern to make my bridesmaid dress and loved the skirt, so I wanted to make a slightly different bodice but use the same skirt pattern. So here I have pinned the pattern pieces to the beautiful fashion fabric that I'm using. This is a design by Australian designer Jocelyn Proust. She is one of my favourite designers and I've talked about her before on the channel. I'll put links to her stuff in the description. So I only have one real problem with using cute animal prints for my clothes and dresses and things, and that's when I have to decapitate the poor things. Yep, okay. I also cut the bodice pieces from the red cotton that you see here for my lining. I also cut out the skirt panels, but they'll come up later. So what I'm doing here is matching up the lining and the fashion fabric pieces for the bodice and pinning them together so that I can treat them as a single piece rather than making up the garment basically twice, making up the lining and the outer fabric. I chose to flatline this dress, which is basically just treating them as the same piece and sewing it all together at once. So I'm lining everything up, pinning it all together and getting it ready to go. Once everything was pinned together, I then just grabbed a nice long thread and threaded my needle and just secured everything with a long basting pad stitch, which just keeps the pieces together without me needing to keep all of my pins in the pieces and inevitably stabbing myself because I'm very clumsy, and if a pin is in a thing, I will stab myself with it. And now begins the most terrifying part of the process, using the sewing machine. I am so much more comfortable sewing by hand, but I did not have time to hand sew this piece. It took me months to make my bridesmaid dress by hand, and I had like 2 weeks to make this before Christmas. So machine it was, and these parts I'm sewing together here are the front panels, so the centre front panel and the side front, and also the centre back and side back pieces. I believe I also sewed together the shoulder seams. And this here is the skirt panels. They, according to the pattern, should be cut on the fold, but to get the kookaburras to line up the print, I had to cut it as 4 separate pieces with a seam down centre front and centre back, which I am pressing open here. I then got my pattern piece back out and laid it back over the fabric so that I could mark the pleats. These pleats run down the skirt a fair distance and are stitched down, and I really liked the way it was marked on the pattern. It was really nice and easy to follow once everything was marked out. I'm using a heat erasable pen so that when I iron the pleats, all of the markings will disappear. So, I have 1 day off work before Christmas to finish this and do all my Christmas shopping. Wish me luck. Also, if you're wondering why I suddenly switched to the floor, this is what our dining room table looks like right now. So now I am clipping together the side seams of the dress bodice. Thank you, Noelle, for your beautiful sewing clips. I love them very much and use them just so much. They're the best. Thank you. Here, those side seams are getting sewn together, and you will see that I have had a bit of an issue with the waistline of this dress. I thought I fixed it, but I didn't fix it. The skirt hangs weird and the waist sits higher at the back than front. I don't know what happened. But anyway, here I am basting the pleats down in preparation to attach the skirt to the bodice of the dress. I also clipped together the side seams of the skirt portion of the dress and sewed them up before attaching the bodice. Here is where I had most of the troubles with the waistline. I marked the centre back of the bodice and used that to line it up with the centre back of the skirt, and yeah, I still don't quite know what happened with the bodice. I thought I fixed it in the mock-up stage, and then it was still an issue here, and I thought I fixed it by shifting the lower part of the bodice, the back, down further so that the skirt was attached higher in line with the front of the bodice, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened. It's not really visible on the finished garment unless you're really looking at it, and it's mostly hidden by the belt I make later as well, so it's not a huge problem. Once the bodice was pinned to the skirt, it was all sewn down on the machine, and I had to sew through a lot of layers of fabric here, and it was very scary, but I did it, and it worked out pretty dang well, so I'm proud of me. Here I made the genius mistake of cutting off that excess material before trying it on. If I hadn't done this, I could have fixed everything. That's fine though. So I didn't quite leave enough seam allowance on the neckline and arm side to finish it off, so I had to unpick those seams so that I could fold the lining and the outer fabric inwards and then stitch it down to finish off the neckline and centre front and arm size. And here's where I was starting to rush to get to the end of this project big time. I had pink to the bottom of the skirt panels, so rather than doing a double fold hem, I just folded it up once, about 1/2 inch, and sewed that down and called it a day. I'm gonna come back to that. I'll talk about this in a future video, but I am planning on doing a bit of a finishing challenge for next year where I actually finish some projects, so we'll talk about that in the future. And yes, my machine, it just loves unthreading itself, so I've gotten very good at threading needles. So I've just gotten to the point where I have about 1/2 meter or so of hem left, and it has just dawned on me that I have not needed to refill the bobbin yet for this entire project. Now, I have no idea how long a bobbin should last. Is that a thing that, like, people who sew by machine just kind of instinctively know, or are we all just stuck here at the whims of this terrible, mysterious beast known as the bobbin? Anyway, I'm gonna bet that this thing is gonna run out like 10 centimeters before the end of the hem. So now begins a fun game of bobbin chicken, which is basically the only adrenaline rush that I need. As you can see, I made it to the end without having to refill the bobbin. I went and checked afterwards and there was still like heaps of thread left in the bobbin, so it wasn't even worth the stress. Anyway, here's me doing up the buttonholes. I used a single strand of red embroidery floss and double threaded it onto my needle and did a buttonhole stitch, which I will link a video by Bernadette Banner in the description because that is the best tutorial I've seen for it. And yes, could I have done these buttonholes by machine? Probably. Was I too scared to? Absolutely. I have no idea how to work the buttonhole stitch on the machine, so hand sewing it was, which was good because it meant I could just sit and not stress because I was very tired. But I did it, and I think they look quite cute in the end. And of course, once the buttonholes were done, it was time to add the buttons. And at this stage, I believe it was Christmas Eve, quite late Christmas Eve as well, like 9 o'clock at night, and I'd been working earlier that day. So I didn't get any actual footage of me finishing like most of this dress, but after this I finished stitching up the neckline and arm size, and I also cut a few long strips of the lining fabric to stitch together a belt, and it was done at 7 o'clock Christmas morning. But it was done, and I am so thrilled with how it turned out. I adore this print. I'm really happy with the bodice that I drafted, and I was really pleased that I was able to use the machine and feel like I actually kind of knew what I was doing a little bit. There were some tricky curved seams on that bodice, and I put them together. So even though there's a lot of little issues that I don't love, overall I adore this dress, and it was really pretty, and I got to wear it on Christmas, and I'm just, yeah, thrilled with how it turned out. Thank you all so much for watching, and especially thank you to all of you new subscribers. I'm assuming most of you came from Noelle and a few other of the big name costubers. For those of you wondering, yes, our Secret Santa video will be going up soon. We're just waiting on our recipient to get their gifts. So hopefully soon, and yes, so hello everyone, introduce yourself down in the comments. We love having a little chat around here, and I cannot wait to share more exciting sewing adventures with all of you into the new year. Bye!